Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and/or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and/or nonprofits. So, back by popular demand, it's been a couple weeks, but here he is today, Steve Mickey Mac.
Yes. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stop the applause. Stop the applause. Yo, man, I feel much better. My spirits are much better. Yeah, I got the news, but you know what? The news about not driving again.
Yeah.
But, the Lord's in charge. He's large and in charge, and I'm not going to let that stop me because Satan's going to do everything he can. In fact, he's doing everything he can right now within the city of Branson,
Yes, he is.
worldwide, actually.
Yeah.
But with people going against people for no reason, people just have. Rachel told me when she was at Belk yesterday. What in the world are you doing? No.
Dropping my water bottles.
Oh, I thought you were trying to juggle.
No, I was taking it off the. We had an
It's
extra.
long. It's throw. I've got it. I've got it. Anyway.
Home run.
Yeah.
Oh no. Touchdown.
That's okay. Hey, you know what? The way I've been thinking, I could have said score in the net. Wait a minute, which net am I talking about? Hockey, basketball, because there's no net in baseball except the net behind you.
The net behind you, which is what you were talking about. God behind you in the midst of it. So keep on talking.
That's right.
The driving.
Matt, it's nice to see you. Matt, thanks for helping me out today.
Yet.
Huh?
Said I'm not leaving or anything.
Oh, whew. No, I know you're not. Anyway, folks.
You too.
Huh?
It's good to see you too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yep.
Thank you.
Like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, I've got a very special guest with me today, and I've been trying to get you for a while, but that's okay. You've been one busy young lady.
Young, I like that. Keep that up. Keep that up. Yeah.
So we'll be talking to Susan Abar here momentarily, but I just want to say thank you for all your prayers.
Yeah.
Jana, if you're watching, thank you for the video call last week, and I look forward to talking to you again this week, and goes for Julie, too. I don't know if Julie Suter's watching, but Julie, thank you very much for calling, checking up on me, and there's going to be some major changes coming
Right.
as far as my physical well-being, but you know what? I got to give it over to him because you know what? And earthly speaking, Rachel has been an angel,
Yeah.
and she's been there to help me out, and I've got friends that have helped me out where I can, but just the prayer warriors out there for me.
Well, let's just back up. So Rachel is your
Wife.
beautiful wife. I mean, her name could not be more perfect for her. She is such a blessing to so many. But I'm not sure that everybody that's watching today knows what's happened to you over the past little while. Could you just catch them up when you said your physical
Right.
challenges right now? That would help some of the new people listening.
Yeah, I think I said this last week, maybe not, but I went to see my neurologist. No, I told you about the fall.
Right.
And we thought that we broke something in my hip. We wasn't sure if the hardware was damaged from the replacement, but thank the Lord, nothing was damaged there. But something could be wrong still in the lumbar area or not really on the hip area, but because I'm still walking and I can hardly put any weight on that right leg. I did fall, and what I did was they think now that I had a mini stroke.
Oh,
And that's what the neurologist told me.
Right.
And that's why I initially fell. But then when I fell over the power chair, which I now have, thanks to Medicare.
I'm like, how many more things we fell over the power chair that was supposed to help you in the beginning?
Yeah, well, it was out of the way, and it was dark. Our light usually comes on, and it didn't come on yet. And so I was trying to reach over to flip on the light over the dining room.
Right.
And when I did, I'd already started falling, and when I did, I actually fell over, and I think that's what caught my hip was part of the power chair.
Why am I laughing? I mean, this is not funny. Sorry.
You know what it is? It's the clumsiness in me.
It's the I think it's nervousness too. You know, Have you?
Right, and it's okay. I laughed. I've been laughing about it too. You know, my brother would usually say, "Man, you still are clumsy," just to bring the laughter out in me.
You know what? One day a man came into the store and he was in shorts, so I could see that his leg was cut off. And somewhere along the line, he made the statement of he'd lost his leg. Do you know what I said?
No.
Did you ever find it?
Oh,
What? What was in my head? I mean, you don't say that to people.
I'm here all week. I'm a comedian, but I'll be here all week.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no. But
you know,
what?
you
He
have to do that
laughed.
with
He
people like
laughed.
that. You have to.
He laughed.
You have to. Good. As long
Thank
as
goodness.
they take it. Yeah. Some people might not take it. They're like, "Excuse me," or they might just laugh. And you have to laugh at stuff like that because if you don't, then you're trying to bring laughter. Is what you were doing. You were doing that on
Maybe
purpose,
I was.
just to bring.
Yeah. I
And
don't
but
know.
some people might take it and they go, "What?"
Yeah.
And but some people, most people should. I think you should laugh it off anyway.
Well, we should, but
You got to be careful too.
You got to be careful, because things happen. But I'm learning those words from Paul for myself is count it all joy.
Right.
But sometimes it's hard. Yeah.
Right. You got to put on. You got to remember the fruits of the spirit, showing that love, that peace, that long suffering. But it's hard sometimes.
I don't like the word long suffering.
That I know. That just
Christians should just have happy joy
all the
all
time.
the time, right? Yeah.
Love, joy, peace, all the time. Hi. And you're gritting your teeth going, man, I feel miserable. But how you do it? It says Sunday morning when you walk into church and you just had that fight with your spouse.
Yes.
Or, you just had that, I couldn't find my keys or something like that.
Right.
And you're walking into church and you're frustrated going, hi, nice to meet you. I feel so miserable right now.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
under your breath. And
Yeah.
sometimes people can read right between them,
Yeah.
the lines. And some people are like, well, it's so nice to see you. And you just want to go into a corner and cry.
Yeah,
From
exactly.
frustration. But you just have to put on that smiley face.
Yeah. Hey, we've known each other a long time, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Almost a decade now.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been married almost a decade. I tell people when they say, "Oh, we've been married 40 years," I said, "That's wonderful." And in the beginning, I could say it took 3 husbands, and I've been married 12 years. It's not funny, but it is kind of funny,
Yeah, I've
in
heard
a
other
way.
people say something like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I just really, to finish my portion off is that they realized that my CMT, my Charcot-Marie tooth, and that is, Charcot is 3 English doctors actually they discovered this. It's Charcot-Marie tooth is the last name of these doctors,
Uh-huh.
and they discovered that these nerves in your lower legs and in your feet, it's almost a neuropathy, but it's a
Right.
severe neuropathy. It's treatable, but it's non-curable.
Okay.
And they used to connect it with muscular dystrophy. Now the umbrella is muscular dystrophy, but
Okay.
it's not really. And so MDA has decided to partner with CMTA and say, you know what, if you've got patients, we can actually, because it's a neuromuscular or
Right.
muscular disease type, then we can go ahead and treat your patients as well.
Really?
So the MDA
Oh,
is
praise
picking-
God.
And so I can go to an MDA clinic and get treated.
There's so many things coming up that we can see and know now, but here you are sharing your story, and there's someone out there that might be having issues that you're touching right now just by being open, not keeping it in secret, not hiding it, but here's what's going on, and you're getting help. And that's
These braces
Phenomenal.
that I have are hinged braces. And then, so when the doctor told me this last week, he said, you've progressed a little bit more from the signs and the symptoms that the nurse gave me before I came to see you. Just tells me one thing is that your nerves are just about shot, and you can't feel the pedals anymore, because that's very dangerous, because if you can't feel the gas, feel the brake, and you don't know which one you're touching,
right,
that
right,
could cause an accident. And
right.
he just told me, he says, I don't want you driving anymore. And I was like,
Uh-oh.
okay. And it hit Rachel, and Rachel's like, it really is happening. Look. And I'm like, well, Lord, you've got a reason for this. And I'm like, what am I going to do about Brighter Living Live? What am I going to do about this? And I said, Lord, you just take that over because I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. So he's like, well, you have to call in home health care to obviously help you. And so I have to rearrange the furniture in order for the power chair to go through, so I'm not playing bumper cars with my power chair. So, but anyway, just continue to pray for me on that, and
Will do.
I'm doing good.
Good.
So let's turn the table a little bit to
Nope.
you.
Oh, thanks a lot. Okay, go ahead.
Well, you and I have known each other, like I just said, for what,
Almost a decade. Yep.
And how I met you when you had I would say, how big was that space? I don't know, but it was 12 by 16, something like that.
No, it was 10 feet
10
by
feet.
10 feet. You just count out these squares 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that way, that's it. It was 10 feet by 10
And
feet.
you was in the corner in Tanger Mall over by the,
Restrooms.
yeah,
Okay.
by the restrooms, right?
Yes, and I'm not afraid to tell you that because I've learned something in retail. If you want to open a store, there's 2 things you need. It's very, very important. You've got to have a place to get food, and you've got to go find a place to let go of the food.
That's one way of putting it. I've never heard that one, but that's good.
So when I moved into this little store, which was right within the confines of where the restrooms were located, it had been a little security office in Tanger Mall. And when I moved in there, I remember thinking, oh my goodness, the restrooms are right there. And I was concerned about maybe some of the possible odors, to be honest with you. But mine was enclosed, so we didn't have any problems with that. But those bathrooms were so clean. That's actually where the UPS and the FedEx people used to come to go to the restrooms because they were spotless. But there's a better story. After I opened the store, time and time again, this would happen. This is before I knew anything about the fragrance of the Holy Spirit. This is kind of funny, though. People would walk in to my store and they would go, oh, what is that fragrance? And I'd think to myself, I think they might have sprayed the restrooms, but it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was, I just had no idea what the fragrance of the Holy Spirit was, but it was wonderful because it covered everything.
I'll tell you, folks, when I walked in there, when I walked into that little shop of blessings is what I think. I was like, wow. I did the same thing. I was like, it smells good in here. And Rachel's like, wow. That's all we could say was, wow, it smells. We didn't know what to say. And then that's when Susan introduced herself. And that's when she went into her story. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But there's some really neat stuff that has happened since then.
Yes.
With you
Yes.
and with the store. I mean, you've come a long way from that little non-security little office to this really nice, elegant
Yes.
type of store in
Yes.
Grand Village.
Yes.
And so you have probably one of the most unique stories I've heard in a long time. And when you first told that, and it's really neat how you actually tell that story when customers come in.
Yes.
They're just coming in just to look at something and saying, wow, pennies, the jewelry, wow. And then when they hear your story, they come out of there going, wow.
What just happened?
Well,
Yeah.
what just happened? But it's neat because no other store owner that I know of takes time, even if they're Christian, will take time to tell their testimony. But you're the first and only one so far that I know of that will be willing to tell your story and your testimony in a retail
Environment. Yeah.
environment.
And, I always thought I was supposed to be in ministry. I mean, really just, full-time ministry with a church or some kind of ministry, whatever. But that's not what the Lord calls us all the time. Some Christians, we have to look at our skill sets. And what I'm looking at, I'm just thinking about Mike Pence out of the blue. And I'm thinking, that man is a Christian through and through. And people make fun of the fact that, he won't go to dinner or out to lunch with a woman unless his wife is there. It's just not what he does. And I think, wow,
I've never heard of another vice president doing that. You know.
Yeah, and definitely not president. No, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
But here's the thing: it should be all the way through. When we begin to take our walk as Christians, we need to really take that seriously. And I was, where were we? What were we talking about? I don't know. You have to help me, Steve. The store,
Yeah, that's sore.
telling the testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It takes a lot of effort and takes a lot of time. And the older I get, it's like, I just want to turn on the TV station. But we are all called. And as store owners, as Christians, we've got to walk it, live it, and talk it, from the tax angle to the change angle to the, making sure that our products are right. And if something's broken, that we replace it. And, we can't be like the normal store owner. And that is why
Yes.
we are
The copper coin.
the Copper Coin. And we are the #1 store in Branson, according to TripAdvisor, 4 years in a row. We've always been in the top 10, almost always, from the time we started. And not only that, this last week we got an announcement that our store is rated in the top 10% of the world, and they only go on customer ratings. So we've got, mostly 5s across the board. They're not counting the customers. That's part of the ratios. They're looking at what are the ratings, what are people saying about the store, and the Copper Coin has a 5-star rating.
It's because of your testimony.
Uh,
Well, sort of.
sorta. It's really, that is a God thing.
Right.
That couldn't be done by me.
Right. God, it's God who actually ordained it,
Yes.
but it's your testimony that helps it. You know,
Right.
It's like a tool or.
Right. And the reason is so the customers do you want me to just tell them just real briefly?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. And I'll just make it real short.
Or you can go as long.
Okay.
We've got at least a half hour. So.
Okay. Well, we'll get into some of the details, but I want to give the overview so people
Right.
know. In 2003, when I was a single mom, I had been working for a major soda company, soda pop. It depends
Soda
whether you're
pop,
north
huh.
or
I'm
for
beginning to say soda now.
for, for 4 years. If you're from Michigan, it's pop, right?
Yep.
Yep. And we were both actually from Michigan originally.
Right.
Well, what happened was quite amazing. I got laid off from my job, and I thought I was indisposable. I mean, I thought I was really something. I'd worked years and years to climb the corporate ladder. I got out of teaching because it didn't earn enough money. I was a single mom, 3 kids. And it ended up, I got this magnificent job at a soda company.
Very good.
And I was in what's called training and development, which is the most insecure job you can choose throughout the entire nation. If you're going to the corporate world, that's the last job you need to take. I probably shouldn't tell people, but it's true. It doesn't really matter how good you are. The chance that you last a long time is negligible. But what happened was they were going through a major reorganization, and I'd worked on the reorganization, and I just knew everything, and I was all about organizational design and development, and if you wanted to climb the corporate ladder, I had it all written out and all cleaned out so that you knew which job you had to take to get to the next job, to get to the next job, and the lateral moves you had to take before you could go up to the next rung, and all these skill sets. So I thought I was totally indispensable. The company was moving and growing. It had been purchased by a group up in Connecticut, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And I'm just superwoman, and I'm getting the next job, right? And I get called up to the vice president's office, and it's like, "Hi, Susan." I said, "Hi," and I'm looking at the stack of paper, and he says, "This is the hardest thing I have to do." And I'm like, I've seen those stacks of papers before, and he's talking about laying me off. He's firing. I'm not getting fired for cause. Firing is when you get fired for cause, but I'm
Laid off or.
I'm getting laid off. And the last thing he says to me is, Susan, by the way, you're going to be on this COBRA thing, and you probably need to get your health insurance. Any tests, anything, you need to get it done quickly. Well, The short story is this. I was diagnosed with breast cancer shortly after that, then learned I had pancreatic cancer. I was given no hope of surviving when they found out I had the pancreatic cancer. Short story is that woman's talking to you today. So there's a lot of story in between. I experienced a miracle healing, and that miracle healing involved 2 copper pennies, a rainbow, and a woman called Mercy. And the book you have in your hands right now.
They can't zoom in on it. But
Okay.
right now.
Yeah, Against All Odds, 2 pennies, a rainbow, and a woman called Mercy is my story. But the 2 pennies are what created and gave birth to the copper coin, which would become the #1 store to visit in all of Branson, Missouri. And you know how many Bransonites don't even know we exist? It's so funny. But that penny jewelry, I mean, those 2 pennies became my first jewelry, and now I'm loaded with pennies and all over me.
So she's rich in pennies.
I'm rich in pennies, yes. You know what my
Pennies
son,
from heaven. Literally.
a penny for your thoughts. And you know what my son said to me the other day? Okay, by the way, my son was in the military. He looks at me and he says, he was in town, and he says, you know, Mom, we all thought you were crazy when you started making the penny jewelry, and you said God had called you to make it, and we just shook our head and thought Mom's really had too much.
Off the deep end.
Yeah,
going
she's had too much chemotherapy and some other things. And anyway, because it does kill some brain cells, by the way. I'm hoping they're recouping, but I haven't found it yet. But anyway, so my son says, Mom, you're the only person I know who can take a penny and get $29.95 for it. I said a lot of ingenuity, a lot of God's thought, you know.
So, young man, you are so lucky to have your mom.
And the 2 girls too, Kirsty and Bridget.
Okay,
Yeah.
Christy and Bridget.
Yeah.
You guys have a phenomenal mom, and see, look what she did with pennies.
Yeah. Look what I did with you.
Exactly.
They're all doing well.
Oh, good,
I'm
good.
so proud. And they all have babies now.
Aw, so
my
grandma.
Gigi. You know what
Gigi.
Gigi stands for? Gorgeous grandma. And I was telling that to a lady who was in her 80s, and she looked at me. She said, "No, it doesn't." And I looked at her. I said, "What does it stand for?" Grumpy grandma.
Well, you know, there's grumpy grandmas that have to be grumpy once in a while. Then there's gorgeous grandmas that don't age.
Okay. So this is a little on the edge. It may be a little bit on the edge, maybe too edgy for a Christian show, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I saw this shirt the other day, and it says Gigi Saurus with a dinosaur underneath it. And beware, you could get Jurassic.
Uh-huh.
Okay, if you didn't get it, that's fine.
I got it. I got it. And maybe you got it, folks. Maybe you
Oh,
didn't.
did I make a mistake on your show?
I don't know. As long as you didn't say what you.
I didn't say it.
No,
I
you
just-
didn't.
you've
But I
heard
knew
about
what you
Jurassic
meant.
Park.
And you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
That was
I thought it was funny. It was on the edge. I'm sorry.
no.
I'm,
We'll find out later if it was something that maybe it shouldn't have been said. But
well, you
know,
just mark it out. Mark it out.
well, it's live,
Oh, sorry.
and that's okay. I think
Lord, forgive me.
I think we're gonna be okay. You know, this is a good segue. This show is proudly sponsored by Ozark Craft Mall,
Yes.
Ozark Mountain Craft Mall. Jennifer Cisco Grant, she's is the proprietor, sole proprietor.
Thank
I
you,
guess
Jennifer.
she and her husband. I don't know if that they both own it, but I know that she's managing it, and then Stephanie, a friend of hers, is assisting her on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
But she's got this really neat store or mall. It's got 32 vendors. She's got a
Yes.
couple people that make. One makes woodworking. Mr. Montgomery, he does a lot of the name. He carves the names.
Is it Galen or someone
No,
else? Okay.
no,
Okay.
I know who you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
But no, it's
Mr.
Montgomery.
Okay.
He calls it Mr. M's Woodworking or something.
Great.
And you can find him there, and he's got classes that he does outside of the place, as well as I think it's kind of hard for him to do. He does demonstrations at the store, but classes outside the.
Oh, nice.
And then there's another gentleman who's got He does mugs. He does etching, glass.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Why can't we remember his name?
Yeah, okay. You know who I'm talking about
They're
then.
phenomenal. He also does these amazing pieces with the not marble granite. Have
Yeah,
you
I
seen
think
that?
it might be the same guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
And then there's barbecue sauces and apple butter and things. And then I've got my honey sticks in there, which are 24 different flavors right now.
Really?
Yep. And it's going, it's phenomenal because the sales are, Jennifer keeps on calling me, you need more order or you need another order. I'm like, what? We just put it in there and half of them are gone. And for a while, it took a while, but anyway, go to go to Ozark Craft Mall,
It's
Ozark Mountain
sweet.
Craft Mall,
Yes.
and it's across the street from Grand Country.
Right.
And she has also Miss Brenda's old time photos, and we're going to be talking to her about becoming a sponsor. So,
Okay. Good.
anyway, getting back, I just want to make sure that commercial got taken care of. Now let's get into your book, Against All Odds.
Uh-oh. Okay.
You're in
Okay.
trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Really, this book has been such a great help for Rachel and I. We've read it a couple times.
Really?
Rachel has.
Oh,
I've read
my.
it almost. CJ.
Bye, Jay.
And I just learned so much from it. And each time, when you read a book,
Yeah.
you read it the first time and it's like, okay, it was a great book. And then you read it. I don't remember reading that before.
Yeah.
It's food for thought or a penny for your thoughts.
I love it. Yep. Yep.
And by the way, we'll talk about, you have that show here on Thursdays from 9 to 10.
Yes.
Right here. So folks, tune in for the Penny for Your Thoughts. I mean, it's a great show. I've got to see the premiere. I got to go back and I missed it because I was at the doctor's.
Well, you get to see it later. Yeah. Yeah. And we got some great women on there too. Just fabulous.
Well, the first chapter is called Crossroads.
Yep.
And Robert Frost, you did a quote by him. I mean, actually, it's a quote by him.
Yes. It's his
And
poem. Yeah.
It's his poem. What's the whole idea behind Crossroads? Is that like the beginning of your story?
Yeah, it is. It's that time when I had to make a decision. I had gone to church all my life. I was a nice, middle of the road denominational girl going to a wonderful church that had great stories and told the stories of Jesus, of course. But there's a truth here. For 56 years, I went to church, but I had never, from that church denomination, had never heard the salvation message. I mean, I had Baptist friends, and they'd go on their thing, and some Pentecostal friends, which I was like, stay away, stay away. And but I was polite. Don't misunderstand me, but that's my spirit inside was stay away, because I wanted to have a foot in the world and be cool, and I, still wanted to be a Christian, be a good person. And I had no idea that the truth was that I was not a Christian at all. Doing good things is not being a Christian. Going to church is not being a Christian. And, the old saying is, what's the story? Just because you park a car in the garage doesn't mean you're a car, or something like that. I don't remember. But the thing is, just because you go to church, just because you do good things, there's more to being a Christian than that.
Right.
And I had to face the fact that I had not been the woman I had promised to be when I was 16. And I had literally graduated from high school, gone to college, and went to a nice Christian college, and after 2 years knew I didn't fit, just did not fit with these people. And turned around and went to a state school, and by that time a series of events had happened. Even though I went to Christian camp every year, I was a counselor in a Christian camp, but I'd never surrendered my life to Christ. I didn't know what that looked like, didn't know what it meant, knew a few pieces of scripture, but something had to change. I had just been laid off from work, and as I told you, I'm walking through the third floor, which was the executive offices. And as we walk by the lawyers, I look at my boss, and he says to me, one more time, this is the hardest thing I have to do, and I got angry. I have 3 children to raise. I'm a single mom, and he's telling me that letting me go is the hardest thing he has to do. Try raising 3 kids on your own, finding a new job, one that pays decently so you can get them educated, growing, and on their way. He has no idea, in my mind, what hard is. Now, I'm sure he's had hard times.
Right.
Don't misunderstand me. But I'm mad now. And all of a sudden, out of my mouth comes these words. This is not about you. This is about me and God. No sooner than I say that, 2 weeks later, I get diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm like, ooh, wow, this hurts. Now, my sister's gotten through it. And I figure, well, if my sister can get through it,
Right,
I
you
can get
do
through
it.
it. You're right. And she's had it not once, but twice. 5 years after her first bout with one breast, she had another breast impacted. And I remember saying to the doctor, look, Lynn's had it twice. And I know you're only supposed to do one at a time. But because my sister and the family history, would you just go ahead and take both of them? And in the midst of that, then I get diagnosed with the pancreatic cancer. And following the bilateral mastectomy, doctors find out the cancer's already metastasized. They thought it was early stage. And now they're telling me I have pancreatic cancer. It's a crossroads. Which way do I go?
Mm-hmm.
Do I go to the left? Do I go to the right? I can't go straight ahead anymore. I've got some choices to make. And these choices are going to impact the rest of my life. Part of it's the physical health, but there's more. There's that emotional, and there's spiritual. There is the spiritual, there is the body, there is the mind, there's the soul. All these things are going on, and I'm like, I have to acknowledge, as I look in the mirror, that I am not the person I've been pretending I am.
Man, that's rough, but at the same time, God's in control
Yes.
of your life now. Back then, it was really rough for you. You just didn't know how to respond to a lot of them.
No, I
And
didn't.
because you were a brand new Christian, or you wasn't a Christian at that time.
Well, I wasn't even Christian yet.
Right,
I mean, I'm starting to walk the walk.
right.
I know that I've been on the wrong track. I know that I played the game with the big smile and the mask at church about being the really nice person. But I know even with some of my Sunday school friends, they were a lot like me. We're doing this over here. And, well, if I just really get honest with you, I'm not going to hide. Okay, it's like there were a couple of us that were single. And what was good for the goose was good for the gander.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say that, but I'm going to be really honest with you.
Right.
I'm not going to be prideful. If we keep secrets of who we once were away from people, then what happens is they never learn either, because they think we're something that we're not, or we were something that we weren't. And so I grew up in the 60s. I grew up in the time of women's lib. I believed in it. I thought I should have equal rights, at least equal pay. And I went in a little further with equal rights, etc., and some of the other areas that are a little bit worldly. And I'm not proud of them, but I'm going to tell you, I was sold a bill of goods. I mean, I was even in that era when it was the original birth control pill came out, which said, okay, girls, you can go and do what you want to do because you're going to be okay. And then I was in the era that a little bit later, it's, okay, abortion's okay. It's just a bunch of cells. I regret telling people this, but I think people need to know where a lot of people were misled. A lot of good women were misled, and we fell prey to what I would say are the wiles of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And to really be honest, looking back, that was Satan's attempt to destroy womanhood
Yeah, so
and the
that's,
Proverbs 31 woman.
which I think Rachel is.
She is. She is.
Crazy Busy, that's your second chapter, and there was Hosea 2, 6, and 7. Tell me about that one.
Read Hosea.
Okay.
I just love it.
Therefore I will soon fence her in with thorns. I will wall her in so that she cannot find her way. Then she will pursue her lovers, but she will not catch them. She will seek them, but she will not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my husband because I was better off then than I am now.
I just
Wow.
love it. Wow. Who is my husband?
Yeah.
My first husband now is Jesus, but it wasn't then. What God had put me on and allowed me to be, I really think, as I made the choices early in life, and I'm not proud of them. Growing up, the 60s child, I did not get involved in the drug issues at all, but as far as the women's lib issues and, I'll be honest with you, sexual impropriety, it was on the edge, but it wasn't flaunted. But I grew up in that culture, so it was like it was okay, you know, with your boyfriend or whatever. And so I was on that edgy side, and but it's not okay. But I did not know the Bible, but I knew in my heart it was what I was doing was wrong. Does that make sense? So I'm in college, all the girls that look like they're having the most fun. So I'm going to finally step out and do what the girls who are most popular and having fun are doing. And so I began to play in that water. And it led me off into a wrong track. And then I end up going in the Peace Corps. I get married. It's the time of Vietnam. And I'm like, you know, peace, love, peace.
That era.
The flower
that
child.
was
That's older than you.
63
Yeah.
to 68.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're a little bit familiar with that. But I went in the Peace Corps because I did want to serve my country. My dad absolutely said, absolutely not. You cannot go in the military, because that's probably where I would have gone. So I go to college, and then I end up going in the Peace Corps, and I'm going to change the world. And then I end up getting married to a local. I was actually in Jamaica, and I married a very wealthy businessman who lived in Jamaica. And that marriage lasted 10 years, and I had 3 beautiful children because of it. And I remember my dad said to me something. He said, you know, always you need to consider, Susan, your culture. Your culture is different than the culture of other countries. And he was right. And he said, culture will get you before anything else. And eventually it caught up with us. And I finally said, okay, I can't live this way anymore. And I went back to the States. So when we're talking about that locking in, I was single. I was married for 10 years, single for almost 10 years, got married again. And in the book, I simply say that the second was worse than the first. And I just leave it there. There's a lot of stuff that I don't feel that I need to lay out. If some women need me to talk about it, I will, but I'm not putting on that air because I don't want to put that before. I just want to be respectful of my children
Right.
and myself as well. But I'm on one-on-one, I'm fine. Lay it all out. And then I was single for 7 years. And now I'm working hard to get ahead, take care of everything. I've done it all myself. I've made my own mistakes. I've corrected them. And what was that old Sinatra song? You got to buck that dam. What is it about the billy goat? You know,
Oh, I can't remember, but
Well, anyway,
I have heard
yeah.
it. But
do it my way. You know, I'm going to do it my way. And that was my theme song for a long time. And then it was something about that ram kept bucking that dam, you know, to break down the dam. That was me. And whatever it took, if I'd made a mistake, I'll have to pay the price and write it up. And then I need to work a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit longer, a little bit harder, a little bit longer. And there I was, always climbing the ladder, doing a little bit more. And even if I took 2 steps back, even if it was 3 steps back, I was going to make it back, make one more step ahead. Always busy, always busy. Always doing something, always trying to get it on my own. Never once did I know that I could say, God help me.
because you knew you could do it all and you didn't need any help.
That's right.
I've been there actually. When I was backslidden, it was like, I can do this, but I didn't really come right out and say, I don't need you, God. I had that spirit of, I can do this. I don't need any help. And then I fall to my knees and go, man, I failed.
Yeah.
And now, God, I know that you need to help me. And as soon as I said, God, help me, he was right there. He never left. I left him. He didn't leave me.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And I look at that path that I took. 56 years, actually, it was actually 40 years to be exact. 16, I gave my life to the Lord and walked away right after that and spent 40 years wandering in a desert of my own making. And that's what I wrote in the book. Yeah.
Cool.
But God had had enough. Because if I had stayed on that track, the day I leave this earth, I would have been the one for all the good that I did. Jesus would have said, I never knew you.
Exactly.
I never knew you. And
Those are words I never want to hear.
that frightens me even to this day. I'm always looking to self-correct. If that scripture or if a friend gives me a word, I listen because I don't want to have to be there and hear him say, I never knew you.
Right.
I mean, just, and I never knew those words even existed in the Bible because I didn't study them.
Right. And when you hear those words, you dream, even dreaming, and you go, man, I know that I don't want that to ever happen. And folks, I just want to let you know, if you have any doubt, talk to somebody, talk to a pastor.
Yes.
If you're going to church and you're not a Christian and you have a pastor or you know of a pastor, that's what they're there for. They're there to
Yeah.
counsel. They should be there to talk to you or talk to a friend you know that's a Christian that's going to church. But don't let any day pass by, because now that we're in that time of we don't know what's going to happen
That's
next.
right.
We could the rapture could happen at any time, and I would love to have you have that relationship with Jesus now. Call in or call right here to Acts Media Group and let us know, or comment and let us know, and we'll certainly pray for you. And let us know if you've accepted the Lord, and we'll do what we can to help you out.
You know, I mentioned this because Randy and I talked about this some time ago. Right after this, and it actually goes, if you go right straight to that penny, see where the penny is? Do you see the top of the name of that chapter there?
Oh, surrender.
Surrender. If you go to the front of that chapter, though, you'll see another scripture. But this is what I want to say right now. We have to be careful about judgmental Christians
Yes.
and people who are scripted that it has to be this way, and this way. Steve, when I surrendered and gave my life to the Lord, this is what I said. I said, Lord, I am so sorry for the things I did and the woman I became. But from this day forward, I just want to honor you. I've made a mess out of my life. I just want to honor you with everything in me, whether it's 7 weeks, because I'd been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, 7 hours, or 7 days, like Mama and Grandpa. Lord, I will serve you with everything in me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. That's all I said. And I had a man come in and say to me, when were you saved? And I said, I was saved on a September day. Well, you don't know the date? No, I don't. Well, he said, you're not saved. And I looked at him and he said, well, what did you say? And I told him the exact words I said. And he said to me, you're not saved. Because he wanted all the pieces in that, well, Jesus, I know you died and went to heaven, and all of these pieces that he wanted to fit his narrative. And I appreciate him fitting all the pieces of who Jesus was in. What he missed was my heart. And that, as Christians, we cannot tear down on anyone else. Jesus is real. He is alive. He is well. He existed. He did die. He did go to heaven. He did perform miracles. And the miracle I experienced, as wonderful as the healing miracle of pancreatic cancer was, the real miracle is Jesus Christ, the healer. Do I believe in Jesus?
Mm.
Did I set up to your script and your formula? No.
Right.
But am I a believer? I am. So I want anyone who's out there, if anyone's ever passed judgment on you, but you've truly given your life to Jesus, I want you to know that you're saved. The question is, are you now following on that path and learning the Word and understanding and steeping in the Word of God so that you do know Him and that you're following Him? You're not doing good because you're a Christian. You're doing good because you want to be a follower of Christ. You want to do what Christ did. That is being a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
That
Amen.
love, that and genuine, and that you correct yourself when you start to go, how are we doing time-wise?
We've got about 5 minutes, so
Okay.
I do want to just jump in here and could you tell people where your store is at?
Oh, thank you. Yes, we are at the Grand Village. We're at 2800 West 76 Country Boulevard. And the Copper Coin, again, is the #1 store to visit in all of Branson and in the top 10% worldwide, according to TripAdvisor, which is just so neat. But more importantly, I want you to know this is ministry.
Hmm. And she'll gladly talk to you
Yes.
and even pray with you, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and,
yeah.
And she'll tell you the story. Just go in and be prepared to hear the story. We couldn't get into all of it, but this book is something else. You have to ask for this book, and she'll be more than glad to
Those books are self-published, and in the self-published world, selling 3,000 is considered good. We've sold almost 15,000 now, and I had a lady come back from New Mexico earlier this year. Another lady came in right after. The first one wanted 5 books to take home with her, and the other person was from Texas, and she bought 3 to take back with her. And they'd all purchased books in the previously, and they're all signed. All of them are signed.
and we've got a copy. We've also got some penny jewelry.
Yes.
And she's got those 2
Yes.
pennies in a sacred place.
And I will tell you, Steve, if anyone has heard this broadcast, please, if you've heard this broadcast today, please come in. We have a little gift we give to all of our customers with a special penny on it and a special scripture. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, declares the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Plans to prosper you,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not to harm you,
Right.
but to give you a hope in a future. That store is about hope. That hope is that encouragement. It is the kind of store that you will walk out of being grateful you walked into.
Mm-hmm.
And may you always remember that every penny says, "In God we trust," carries the motto of the United States of America. It's been on the coin over 100 years. It's been our motto since 1956. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Thank you for being my guest. And again, folks, stay tuned. Coming up next is Sacred Ways with Troy and Belinda Johansson. If you get ready for a special show today, I'm gonna I don't want to steal their thunder, but you'll want to stay tuned. Believe me, you'll want to stay tuned for this next show. And they've got a great guest. And we just pray for Troy and Belinda and pray for Susan.
Thank you.
And pray for her because she has a lot to deal with. Yes, it's in a retail
Yes.
area,
Yes.
but she's, there's so much going on in retail, and I'm just so thankful that she's able to keep her store open because there's a lot of things going on in Branson
Right.
that the shows are either being canceled for the year or they're being readjusted with new schedules. And but check back with your to explore Branson or Branson.com.
Could I just mention?
Yeah, sure.
We do have a website. You can go read a little bit about the story at www.thecoppercoin. Please put thecoppercoin.com. But it's just a joy, and we're here. And you are right. We've got to help local people, local entertainers. We've got to be supporting one another as a Christian community now more than ever. And folks, please, whether it's on the website or you come to the store, we're here for you. Thanks.
God bless. And you know what? I just want to say this. God's in large and in charge. Have a brighter day. God bless. Take care.